You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhage was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast and our monthly recap show for the month of October, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. The Dog Pound Podcast is the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in their three great Niagara region locations. Thank you to those that are tuned in on our video version on YouTube. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay updated with all of our video coverage here on the network. Thank you, Christian. And to those that are choosing to listen to us on your favorite on-demand audio platform, thank you very much for doing so as well. You can also give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast for all of our IceDogs updates, and on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. So Braidy Caputo and Christian Simmons are with you to discuss the first full month of the 25-26 OHL season for the Niagara IceDogs, currently second place in the Eastern Conference, first place in the Central Division. We're going to hear from IceDogs captain Kevin He on our first installment of Captain Kev's Flight Deck on the second part of today's show, as well as your guys' fan polls for a couple polls we put up as well. So we'll hear your guys' opinions on things, but the pressing news, and we're going to hear from GM Frankie Evola here very shortly as well, tying into this first part of today's show, Christian. We delayed the recording a little bit and from when we were supposed to, because there were some things coming down the pipeline about a trade that Niagara was involved in, and it was finally made official earlier this afternoon. And yes, Christian, I guess we can call that your crying towel, but
if anybody's watching the video platform, I'm wiping my tears right now. But continue, Brandon. Sorry to cut you off there. It's an emotional day.
All good, but we record this on Tuesday. It comes out on the Wednesday, so trying to give you guys a little bit on the timeline of things, and our chat with Frankie Evola was on Monday. So with the timeline of how these things sort of worked out, but we're doing the best that we can for you guys with the information that we were provided. So I'm going to pull up the trade here.
Yeah, big trade, huge news in Niagara. Hometown kid Noah Reed comes back to St. Catharines, and the baby boy, Braidy Wassilyn, on his way out to the London Knights. So a huge trade for both teams, a shocker, one that I definitely didn't see coming. I can't speak for Brandon. I can't speak for you guys in the fan base, but I was really looking forward to seeing Braidy, take next steps in a Niagara IceDogs uniform this year. And it's sad to see him go, but exciting in another way. You get a great player back, a St. Catharines native, a guy that this region knows very well, somebody who's played some really great hockey with the St. Catharines Falcons over the last couple of seasons. So it's going to be nice to see him back home, and of course brings a whole whack of depth to the bottom six, and maybe even more than that, an Anaheim Ducks draft pick. So a very talented player coming back the other way, but yeah, shocker to wake up this morning being Tuesday, when, if you're listening to this on the Wednesday, it'd be a day, previously, but yeah, just a little bit of a cold splash of water on the face this afternoon to hear that one.
Yeah, Braidy Wassilyn obviously was Niagara's fourth overall pick in last year's OHL priority selection. Rookie year as a 16-year-old, broke a franchise record for assists. A guy that is ranked as a B prospect going into the NHL draft, is possibly could even go up to a first-round pick. So a guy that you thought was a big part of the top six going forward. But again, we don't know any of the ins and outs of why the trade happened. We weren't able to reach the general manager today for comments on the trade, whether Braidy Wassilyn requested a trade, whether the team thought that possibly him going to Boston University next year played a factor into this as well. Maybe the fact that they'd have Noah Reid for another year, but again, we don't know what the American Hockey League eligibility is going to be for possibly not having 19-year-olds in the league next year. But again, there's a lot of questions and we don't have a lot of answers for it. But sort of what I guess the only thing that we can come to conclusion about is that both these players were looking for a fresh start, a new role, and maybe Noah Reid fits the middle six sort of better than what they had envisioned for Braidy Wassilyn. Maybe too many cooks in the kitchen, Christian, with what we had talked about with the power play. A lot of top-end skilled wingers on this team. Noah Reid seems like a guy that can move up and down the lineup a little bit, be successful, play a little bit more of a gritty game. And maybe it also has to do with 16-year-old rookie Ryerson Edgar playing so well to possibly be ready for that top six role.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of things that are happening on this team that we didn't expect. You saw, Braidy Wassilyn gets injured earlier in the season, the overager conversation, the goaltending situation. There were all kinds of question marks. And I think, with Noah Reid, he brings a lot to a team that could be looking to have him fill a couple of different roles. He's got some goal scoring touch. He's got some size, standing at 6 feet. He plays a two-way hockey game. And he's shown a lot of growth over the last couple of years, coming from the Greater Ontario Hockey League and making a relatively fast transition to the OHL, 10th round draft pick a year later, playing a full OHL season. And then the following, after the season's done, he's getting drafted to the NHL. So, you see the steep learning curve. You see what he's accomplished here on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, playing in minor hockey, he was an incredible player, 28 goals in 37 games in St. Catharines in the Greater Ontario Hockey League, 38 points in 48. And then, of course, in his first OHL season, had a respectable campaign, 10 goals, 16 apples. Behind it, 26 points, a plus 10 too. So the plus minus looks pretty good. He's got some playoff experience. He played 17 games down the stretch for the London Knights when it really counted. So he brings some experience. He brings some defensive responsibility. And obviously, there's a lot of guys around hockey that really like what this kid brings. A third round draft pick is not nothing. That's a very talented young man who has a ton of potential, a lot of fantastic years of hockey ahead of him. And, we should be lucky to have him. And I'm sure the longer I digest this situation, I'm going to fall in love. I'm sure I'm going to be, incredibly over the moon to have this guy in our middle six. He's going to fill a role that, we've kind of been targeting this year. There's been lots of talk about the depth and, having guys in that bottom six that can score. I think that's one thing that, we saw Wraith Smith get on the board a couple times in the last few games. But beyond that, there hasn't been a ton of offense coming from the bottom six, with such a potent top six. It's always nice to get another guy, coming in. And for Braidy, a fresh start, on a team where he's going to get a ton of ice time. He's going to be their go-to guy, a draft year for him. So exciting for him, exciting for Noah, exciting for the IceDogs to, potentially start to figure out their identity in the top six. I mean, to your point, too many cooks in the kitchen, man. Like we saw the 5-man power play, like 5-forward power play. Like, this is going to pump the brakes on some of those dilemmas, but yeah, shock. Cold splash for sure, but excitement as well. It's a good feeling when you get a guy like Noah Reid coming in. But yeah, it's wild. Like it's not the change I was expecting this early in the season. So we'll see how things progress. I don't know, Brandon. I mean, what do you see? What do you see changing with a Noah Reid in the middle six?
I just think he brings a different type of player than Braidy Wassilyn brings. And I think if the IceDogs didn't have Kevin He, Riley Patterson, Ryan Robrick, Ryerson Edgar, a lot of top-end skilled wingers, I think you would say that Braidy Wassilyn belongs on this team, but it just almost felt like they were looking for a little bit different of an identity. You'll hear from general manager Frank Evola in a little bit here talk about, as you mentioned, the depth scoring there. And when you're talking from London's perspective, we're not the London Knights podcast, but they've now got the top 2 picks for the IceDogs in the 2024 priority selection in Braidy Wassilyn and Max Crete. So obviously they view those 2 players as top 6 players for them going forward. And again, Wassilyn's Boston University potential next season. Maybe that's why the IceDogs thought Noah Reed, maybe he could possibly stay down for another season with Niagara, maybe a little bit more term there, even though he is a year older than Wassilyn. We'll have to wait and see how that sort of progresses, but he is coming back home. We see all his stats up on the screen with the Southern Tier Admirals, the St. Catharines Falcons. I'm sure the St. Catharines native is going to be happy to come back here, bringing the experience of going on an OHL championship and a Memorial Cup run with the London Knights. I think he's going to bring a lot of experience that the IceDogs are truly trying to become a team that can make those deep playoff runs. So now that Noah Reed's gone through sort of those battles and what it takes to play into April and May, I think he's going to bring a lot on the ice, but I think off the ice as well, how you navigate through going through a run like that, even though the London Knights were pretty dominant last season. But our initial reaction to it, obviously you're losing out on some skill, but I think you're bringing in some experience and maybe some little bit more grit on the middle six, both wingers, no draft picks involved in the trade as well. So just straight up 1-for-1. It's going to be really tough to see Braidy Wassilyn go, a great young man off the ice as well. But, if Frank Evola thinks that this trade helps his team this season, we'll have to wait and see, because this team is, as I mentioned off the open, second place in the conference, first in the Central Division.
Yep. I will say before we move on that, coming from a team like London who did not have the ideal start to the season, I think we all expected them to be a little bit better to start this year. Of course, if you're watching on the screen, there you go, former Memorial Cup champion, a very accomplished young man. But I will say a part of his game that I do like, and that I think he's going to allow some assistance in a specific department, would be the defensive side of the game. Yep. His offensive side of the game is going to come, right? He's playing on a London team this year that so far did not have a very potent start offensively. But what they did have was a very strong defensive game. They're ranked in the top 5 as far as goals against in the entire Ontario Hockey League. It's part of the reason why they found a way to climb back up the leaderboards. He knows how to play a tight defensive game, and this comes to a team like Niagara who struggled. 45 goals against, one of the worst in the top 5 teams in the Ontario Hockey League. They're looking to add some more defensive structure. They're looking to add maybe a little bit more penalty killing. They've taken a ton of penalties to start this season, a ton of penalties, 202 penalty minutes. They're in the top 7 in, penalty minutes taken. I mean, thank God that, the penalty kill has been, pretty strong. But, if that's going to be their identity, they're going to play a rough game. They're going to need to have guys like that who can come in and fill a penalty killing role, play, shut down defense. And I think that's something that he's going to bring. And then, coming from a championship team, he learned a ton from some real strong players, Dickinson, Cowan, Barkey. He learned under some very, very accomplished major junior hockey players, and hopefully he brings some of that to the Niagara region. That would be the plan. Brandon pulls up the standings here. Brandon, take it away. What do we got here? You're going to walk us through the board, or?
No, I was just kind of putting it up there for reference for people watching on the video version, that the IceDogs, power play and penalty kill. Their penalty kill has been one of their strengths this season, as you had mentioned, one of the better in the Ontario Hockey League. And I think Noah Reed's going to add to that. He's a very solid two-way forward, and I think that's the best way to describe him. I think that's why Pat Verbeek and the Anaheim Ducks really liked him as well, because they have a lot of top-end skill in Anaheim, but they might not necessarily have those guys that can fill in on the penalty kill and those guys that fill in the middle 6 role there. So I think Noah Reed, as you mentioned, I don't think that a 3rd round pick isn't something that you just take. Like, Anaheim clearly values what Noah Reed brings. So to me, that's an intriguing part of his game. And I think that he's going to add just a lot of different elements that I think that on the surface area, we're not going to see, because we look at Braidy Wassilyn and the high point totals and dynamic player and a top end draft eligible player and a great player in his own right, but the IceDogs have so many of those same types of players. So I think they bring in a Noah Reed that can add to guys like Hayden Reed as well. I never even thought of that. That's going to be a nightmare for us to try to figure out those two.
the Reed squared connection on the penalty kill.
Luckily, one's with an I and one's with an A, so thank goodness for that. But you're starting to see sort of the identity of the Chris Bartz types of players in that bottom 6. with Gallianov, with Ray Smith, with Hayden Reed, with Noah Reed now. Like, I really think that this team has a certain identity they want to play off of, along with their top-end skilled players, and I think this goes a long way. We're going to have to wait and see because Ryerson Edgar's gone away to the World U17 Challenge. So we'll see. Maybe Noah Reed jumps up into that top 6 for now, and we'll see where Ryerson Edgar shakes out at the end of the month. And Ryan Robert's also going to be leaving us at the end of in November as well for a couple of games.
Everybody is just taking off. Like, I don't know who's booking the plane ticket. Somebody's going to have to pack. Like, it sucks, right? But my immediate concern, you know, when I woke up this morning and I saw this red button in front of me, I started pushing it. Like, you know, the red button moment for me was the power play. You look at the power play, not exactly stellar start the season, 15.2%. It just hasn't been where we want it to be. And I think for me, the real reason I'm concerned when I see this trade is I look at the power play unit that we have right now. You got a bunch of guys out there that just want to shoot the puck. You know, Robrick right now leading the league in power play goals. Zada scored 9 goals so far this season. He likes to shoot. Kevin He likes to shoot. Riley Patterson seems to be the clutch goal scorer of the decade. Like, these guys like to shoot. They like to score. One thing that Braidy Wassilyn added to this team last year was his ability to pass. He was a fantastic assist man. He broke the rookie assist record. He's a guy that knows how to feed. And I think for me, you know, looking at a power play filled with guys that, you know, like to put it in the back of the net, it's a little bit of a wince moment when you see, you know, potentially your best playmaker, you know, heading out. You know, and with that said, you know, don't get me wrong, don't misconstrue. You know, there's lots of other guys in this team that can pass the puck, like lots of talented players. But it's for me, it's you know, I look at the shooting percentages of, you know, some of the guys we have here, and you know, there's a lot of shooting happening on the power play, maybe not a whole lot of dishing. And I think that was another concern for me, you know, for a team that's struggling on the power play. But one way or another, you know, Hayden Reed is a Niagara IceDog. Can't look back, have to move forward. But that was another thing I just wanted to quickly mention is that, you know, Wassilyn brings a lot of passing to potentially a top unit that has a whole lot of triggermen.
Right. And Noah Reed is now a Niagara IceDog coming home to St. Catharines, a St. Catharines boy, along with Grayson Tiller, adding to that local connection. Before we get to General Manager Frank Evola, just quickly wanted to go over Kevin He leading the way with 18 points. We're going to hear from him later today. We're also going to get your fan polls. We have a fan poll about Kevin He as well. But Ryan Robrick, 14 points in the 14 games. Riley Patterson with 13 points in the 12 games. These have been really hot as of late with the performance that he had in the 3-3 has been very good. Ethan Zada, at the time of recording this, still that pending suspension for him. He already missed a game, but was sticking up for Ryerson Edgar and just dropped the gloves. And again, something that you know, you don't want one of your best players getting suspended, but at the same time, it was for a reason that I think went a long way in that room. And as far as sticking up for your star rookie, and we'll see sort of how long Ethan Zada is out for with that. But again, like it's one of those things where, yeah, you got to stick up for a teammate, but at the same time, if you drop the gloves and the other guy didn't, it's one of those things where the instigating comes into that.
You know, it just crossed my mind is like Ethan Zada definitely watched that clip of the New York Islanders just chasing after the guy who took down Schaefer. Have you seen that clip?
Yep.
Yeah. It's like Ethan Zada watched that video on repeat before that game. He saw somebody touch Ryerson Edgar. He's like, yeah, you don't touch our golden boy, which is exactly the kind of response you like. So I got no issues with that play, you know, from Ethan Zada.
Right. So let's get to IceDogs General Manager Frank Evola on the first installment of Monthly Maintenance, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here's what the IceDogs General Manager had to say about the team's performance through the first month of the season and some of the moves that he's made so far this season. And we're back on our first monthly maintenance segment, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair with the IceDogs General Manager, Frank Evola. Frank, thanks a lot for joining us today. The first full month of action that you guys have had in the 25-26 season. A 5-3-1 month, but 3 wins in a row and sitting second place in the Eastern Conference, first in the division and fourth overall, tied for fourth overall in the Ontario Hockey League. How pleased are you with the start for the team?
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased of the progression we've made from the start of the season till obviously yesterday afternoon, and seeing a lot of signs of things trending in the right direction as far as structure and players buying in.
For sure, and one of your big acquisitions in the offseason, or I guess early in training camp, was Riley Patterson, and from the Barrie Colts, and obviously you talked about him being brought into the fold in many ways being a big acquisition, and he's got 6 goals and 13 points in the 12 games and signed his entry-level contract with the Vancouver Canucks. So is this sort of what you had envisioned for Riley Patterson when you had traded for him from the Barrie Colts, a guy that seems to be playing center, wing, wherever he's kind of needed? Seems like he's playing a big role right now.
Yeah, I mean, adding Patty's experience in the Ontario Hockey League, being an NHL, prospect, and signing his contract, and there's more to Patty being here and integrating with our guys, and he's a leader, and obviously has an A on his shirt, and the hockey will take care of itself, but it's the leadership stuff and the dressing room stuff that goes a long way that people don't see behind the scenes. So yeah, adding Patty's have been an important part, but not only just for the hockey part, but obviously for the off-ice stuff as well.
Absolutely, and a couple other moves you've made since we last chatted at the end of training camp there was for Hayden Reed and Artem Frolov. Obviously, both of those guys have made impacts since you've acquired them. How pleased are you with that sort of move and bringing 2 guys back that were, Frolov was familiar with the organization, Reed was drafted by Niagara, but what have you thought of those 2 guys coming over in the Flint trade?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that they were drafted here, but it was just coincidence, and it happened to be on the same day that they were traded. But they're obviously Frolov's a huge part of our team. He's quarterback in our power play right now, and he's playing 20 plus minutes, and he's a guy that can transport pucks up and down the ice and defend hard. And anything like we need depth here, and Reeder brings depth and energy to our hockey club, and he's an older guy, so we kind of mix in some age with that as well. And they've come in and done a great job, and it adds depth to our hockey club, and it speaks for itself.
A little bit of a 2-part question. So you've being able to finalize your overage situation and also the goaltending situation in that sense too. Obviously, Andrew Wysick no longer with the organization down in Trenton now, so you've got your 3 overagers. You signed Cole Cooksey to his full-time OHL contract, so you're running with Cooksey, Robertson, and Tiller as your 3 overagers. So what went into the decision to finally making those 3 choices, and why that was the best fit for the club this season?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately there's tough decisions to be made with players and overagers, and just obviously, Robbie and what he's gone through, and adversity that the young man's gone through, and how he handled himself professionally. And I think you need 2 really good quality goaltenders in this league. And he was a quality goaltender before he came into the fold, and his play speaks for itself. He's 4 of our wins, half of these guys, and Yermo's got 5 wins. To put in one of those guys in net and feel safe is a great feeling for a hockey club, and he's a well-liked young man. And same as Cooks, he's come in here into spot, and he's an older guy that can move up and down our lineup. Like last night, he plays with Kevin and Kevin gets 3 goals, and there's no egos here, and at the end of the day, they're well liked, and that's part of the process of bringing in guys here.
I know Matosh Spaeth is no longer with the organization, was reassigned to the BCHL this last week, but your other drafted in the CHL import draft, Vladislav Yermolenko, coming over from Belarus, got here the week of the regular season, seemed like he's fitting in quite well along with Charlie Robertson, and then Ben Riesnecker, who's ranked on the Central Scouting list as well as Yermolenko, seems like he's fitting in well as also on the defensive side. So what can you say about your 2 imports and why you think those guys have been vital pieces to what you guys have been trying to do this season?
Yeah, Ben's a big body defenseman. He's not going to wow you with his offensive ability, but with saying that, he's got, I think, 6 or 7 points, and he breaks up plays. He's hard to play against. He has a little bit of an edge, and he's a younger guy, and he's here for 2 years, which is great, and he's only going to continue to get better and better with his development. And Yarmo, I can't say enough about the young man coming from, obviously Belarus, and he's fit in seamlessly. He plays the puck extremely well, and there's a lot of NHL interest with him. As we move along here, there's getting more and more, and you know what? He gives us a chance to play, gives us a chance to win most games when he's in the nets, and well-liked guy again in the room. he's fitting in really well. So
IceDog General Manager Frank Evola is with us. Frank, when we talk about sort of the attention and the eyes on Niagara, they've had some guys sign their entry-level contracts, and Ethan Zada and Riley Patterson this season, and then with 6 guys on the central scouting list with Robrick and Wassilyn and some of those top-end guys that have a lot of eyes on them, might be more scouts in the building, which is right up your alley with your scouting background. So what does that say about, and what does that do for an organization, just having more eyes on them than they would have in previous years, and building that, I guess, pipeline to develop not only now and NHL players, but possibly NCAA players, and just having those guys with an affiliation to their name, or guys that are looked at from an organizational standpoint?
Yeah, it's always nice to be recognized or be on a list and all that type of stuff, and that's great for the players and the individual players. But for my job, like, obviously, is to build a quality hockey team here, like and like anything, a family atmosphere. And I think between our coaching staff and our players, that's what we've really come together in the last month. The kids are, they like each other. They enjoy coming to the rink, and they're fighting for positions, and it's a competitive league. And with that said, the guys on that list, and it's great, but obviously it's not. It's a starting point, and if it's a C, they want to get to a B. If it's a B, they want to get to an A, and if it's a W, they want to get to a letter. So that's our job to develop. But I want this to be a destination, and I think it can be a real good destination for players in the future. And I think we're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got one more game left in October later this week for Halloween, but you think about going into November and December, that's when sort of, things start to get in the works with knowing which teams might be interested in making moves and things like that. And I know you've revamped the decor basically completely from last year, with Shanowski being really the only guy left in that top 6 that was on it last year. So do you anticipate, again, it's early to say, but are you actively looking to improve the hockey club, whether that be with certain moves or just certain talks that are going on right now? You're sitting second place in the conference, and I know Brantford is really the class of the OHL right now, but if this team continues to play well, are you going to be looking to be in a win now scenario with some of the moves you've already made this offseason?
Yeah, I don't know if it's all win now. I mean, there's always, you always have to look for the future, short term, long term. There's always that in the back of your head. But you know what? You take every day in, and you're watching the league. You're always staying in tune what's going on in the league. But there's no, I feel patient here. I don't need to do anything at 9-4-1. And you know what? The kids are proving that. They're playing well. They're buying into what Chris is trying to teach them and integrate as a system. And you know what? It's just things that I can improve the hockey team, not only for short term but long term. I'll be prepared to listen. But at the end of the day, the landscape of junior hockey has changed. There's players that are going to be in the league for 2 years. There's players that can be in this league for 1 year. There's free agents coming from different leagues. So it's a different way to build teams, and we're all trying. There's 20 general managers trying to learn this all different ways, and we're trying to, be a competitive team, be a relevant team from not only this year but years to come. So that's more or less my job, and try to be relevant every year here in St. Catharines and Niagara.
And then last question for you, I guess, what would be something you want to see from the team over the next month? I know the power play at one point was under 10%, and now it's sort of stabilizing, getting it back up to about 15%, still not where you want to be, but it's progressing, and it's something that the coaching staff is really trying to work on. So what do you just want to see this team do over the next month to continue stacking wins and continue to have good confidence and be well in the standings by the time we chat again?
Yeah, there's just different type of boxes you want to check off. Continue to progress in our structure. I think we're defensively, we're allowing less shots, less scoring chances, less odd man rushes. So we're really playing a little more detailed. Our PK's been extremely well, and that starts with goaltending out, and then obviously our power play is getting better. I mean, that comes in time and with some continuity, and it creates momentum on some power plays. Early in the year, our power play didn't create momentum. It actually gave up some shorthanded goals. So we're creating momentum off our power plays now, so that's a positive, and we're getting more shots. We weren't shooting as much in shots on net, but that's increasing. And obviously, you just want to keep grinding her out, get more depth scoring, and continue to keep winning and continue to keep playing the right way. We're not going to win every hockey game. That's hockey. And last night with Zada and Resnecker and Yarmolenko out, that shows the depth of our hockey club. And with Edgar leaving for 2 weeks at under 17, it's a next man up mentality. And that's why you need depth. And so we'll continue to keep working with that.
First installment of monthly maintenance with the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Frank Evola. Frank, thanks so much for coming on, giving us some insight on the management side of things over the last month, and look forward to chatting with you again at the end of November, I guess we could say.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Christian, there was another episode of monthly maintenance with the general manager, Frank Evola. Again, a couple of those things had to be sort of edited because our chat with him was on Monday, and with recording on Tuesday, the trade came out. So some things even changed from day to day for him, with him talking about the roster and being happy where they are at 9-4-1. But I want to get your thoughts on what he said.
Yeah, definitely. Just, I like to hear that he's happy with what he's got. We talked a bit about kind of the overage situation and the goalie situation. And, he likes what he sees from, some of the guys, some of the pieces that he's brought in. And then, of course, looking to add some depth, being kind of his only question mark. And he went out and did it, less than 48 hours later. So a lot of stuff to be happy about there. I do think he's got a very clear identity of what this team needs to be. He knows what he's looking for. He has the pieces in his mind. He's just trying to go out there and find them. And I think it's a really positive and exciting to have a guy, at the wheel that really knows what he wants for this team. So I think, that's my big takeaway. But of course, things have changed. So, we'll have to hear from him again as to what, he thinks of the new look. And what kind of the new identity is going to be for the bottom six. We'll have to wait and see, for the penalty kill. And, so there's a lot there. There's a lot to break down. I do like, him talking about Frolov being a great guy on the back end, somebody that brings some of that, consistency on the back end for the power play, and just being a guy that you can rely on the back end as well. But I think it's an exciting chat with a guy who's passionate and very clearly heading in a direction with an organization. He knows exactly what he wants here.
Yeah, and I mean, I had asked him about but what they're looking for, and he didn't necessarily say that they were all in this season. So I found that. Because we had kind of talked about this team. What are they going to be? Is this the last kick at the can for a lot of this core? And now that Wassilyn's out the door, maybe they think that their window's open beyond that. And we'll see if, Kevin He could possibly be up. Well, I expect him to be at least in the American Hockey League next year as an overager for Winnipeg now that he's signed. And we'll see with Ethan Zada as well, if those AHL rules sort of change things, and Robrick being in his draft year. So I just think that he didn't necessarily say that he wanted to go all in this year, but he definitely made that big trade for Patterson at the beginning of the season that I kind of asked about. And he's been very happy with what Patterson's brought on and off the ice. And I guess as a full two-way player, we expected Patterson to be a solid offensive player, but I think he's brought more on the defensive end than maybe we had expected, and playing more center as well.
Yeah, he just keeps scoring. He's on a hot streak right now. Really, really showing out. Captain Clutch scored 2 game-winning goals in this last week. Really getting hot. On that 4-game point streak, like we mentioned, over a point per game average this season as well, which is a big step for him. He's going to have a great season. But to Frank's point, it's also more about the kind of person he is. What he brings inside the locker room. For a group of guys that are coming together with a lot of new faces. You need a guy like a Riley Patterson. You need a guy like a Kevin He. You need a guy like a Grayson Tiller. You need those character building guys in the locker room, and I think he's fantastic. He's gonna serve him well down the stretch. Maybe shaking off some of the hatred a little bit. Coming from the enemy, it's got to be a bit of a jolt when you see Riley Patterson walk into your locker room. But I think he's adjusted well, and he's really starting to take his game to the next level. I see him being a huge piece for this team down the stretch. But yeah, I love what I see from Patty. Hopefully, just keep putting him away. Like, let's get this guy a captain's hat, like a Captain Clutch, man. I'm telling you, he's been on a roll. Him and Ethan Zada, both of them, just can't stop scoring. I'll tell you that. And I like to see that from those guys. Not exactly the 2-man tandem we expected. You look at a Kevin He and a Ryan Robrick, and that's where the goals are going to come from. And it's been Patterson, it's been Ethan Zada shooting at 39.1%. which is incredible. Like you're getting lots of, offense and people chipping in, people buying in, and, the Chris Barch mindset of, family and, team and, play for your boys, your brothers, like everybody up and down this bench is going to go to battle every night. And, I'm loving what I'm seeing there. So, another piece of the puzzle comes in, and, with Noah Reid, and I'm just really excited. I was thinking to myself earlier today, we just haven't reached our cruising altitude yet. And, you see kind of where we're going, the altitude that we're going to reach. It's, some teams just aren't going to be able to get there. We're at the top of the Eastern Conference, or within striking distance, top of the Central Division, and we're not playing our best hockey yet. And I think there's a lot of stuff to be excited about. Frank sounds excited. I'm excited. It's happy times in the Niagara region for sure.
Patterson said he wanted to be here because he wanted to be on a contender. So, that tells you all you need to know about him wanting a fresh start and a team going from one team within the division to another. So we'll see how that sort of plays out. But he wants to be in Niagara and wanted to be here, which is why that trade ended up being made. But we're going to take a break on today's show. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from IceDogs captain Kevin He for his monthly captain segment here on the show. We're going to get your fan reaction to a couple of polls as well. We're going to give away some club level tickets for you guys on today's show. So we're going to get to all that on the second part of today's show. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. There are 3 great Niagara region locations. We'll be right back after this.
Whether you just brought home a new furry member of the family or would like help finding something new for your picky eater, maybe you've done your research and want to upgrade your pet's nutrition from an entry-level food, the staff at any of the Global Pet Food stores in the Niagara region would love to help you out. Let them show you why our lesser-known premium brands are so much better than highly advertised big corporate brands. The value from the brands we carry is not only visible in the health and vitality in your pet, but also because you won't need to feed as much as with the other brands. Better nutrition from a longer-lasting bag. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street, St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Are you an employer looking to hire? Let the Niagara Employment Help Center save you valuable time and money by making your hiring process easier. Their services include free job postings in-house and on our website, fill job vacancies quickly and efficiently, access to a bank of potential employees, reduce employment costs, and financial incentives may be available to offset the cost of new hire training. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983. This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
J&L Flooring is Niagara's specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride and provide elite customer service and support. With a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety of truly unique products, J&L Flooring is your specialty flooring and decor boutique shop. All of their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced so you can feel good about your flooring choices. Their goal is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they simplify the process to make your life easier and to make your home more beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road in Niagara Falls or find out more at jnlflooring.com. If you think you can get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack at J&L Flooring.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ethan Zader. This is Ivan Galyanov.
This is Kevin Heath.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast.
The official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast monthly recap episode for the month of October, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay up to date with all of our video coverage here on the network. If you're enjoying looking at our glorious faces for the video version of the podcast.
Glorious faces.
And those that chose to listen to us on your favorite on-demand audio platform, thank you very much for doing so as well. I'm also going to put up our merch store. If you guys want to get some Dog Pound merch or Armchair GM podcast merch or anything merch wise from our network here, you can get that by hitting that QR code and getting in on some of the merch that can get shipped right to your house. It's just like getting anything else from an online store. It's a great thing.
Show them the sweater. Show them the sweater, man.
Yeah, there
He's
it
got
is.
the sweater on right there. Check it out. Get your swag.
Get that at Fourth Wall, and you can get that by hitting that QR code on the merch site there. So on the second part of today's show, we're going to go over the fan polls. We're going to hear from IceDogs captain Kevin He, giving him some insight and what is his favorite Halloween candy. We'll hear that as well on the interview, and then we're also going to possibly do a ticket giveaway that we're not going to tell you when, but it's going to be a fun second part of today's episode. And again, obviously things have changed with the Braidy Wassilyn trade and things like that within the roster, Christian. And the first thing that I want to get to here is, I guess, your just outlook. That's what I wanted to talk about. It was just the outlook on what we've thought of the game so far. With 9-4-1, they're on a pretty good streak right now. We look at sort of some of their past games this month for the Halloween, they still have one more game, but we're counting this as the full month recap. So when you look at that, Christian, you look at we got it up on the video version. They lost to Windsor, one of the best teams in the Ontario Hockey League. They lost to Brantford, another one of the best teams in the Ontario Hockey League. The loss against Erie was a little tough, but you look at it, and they've had some pretty solid success this month. I look at the Erie game as a missed opportunity of winning the back-to-back there, but being able to sweep a 3-3 this last weekend with 2 against Brampton, who they'll play again on Friday, you got to be pretty happy about this.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's too much to complain about. You look at the last 5, you take 4 out of the last 5, 8 of a potential 10 points, playing some really good hockey on a 3-game winning streak. This weekend was strong. I think they showed some signs of what they can be. But for me, they haven't passed the test yet. They haven't passed the test. They haven't beat Brantford. They haven't beat Windsor. They didn't beat Barrie. Like the big matchups in October, they found a way to lose those games. And, for Brantford and for Windsor, they lost them by relatively, large scores. Even against Barrie, they gave up 6. It was 7 against Brantford. It was 6 against Barrie, and it was 6 against Windsor. That's a lot of goals going the other way against teams that know how to score. When you play games, in Brampton or in Erie or in Sudbury, it's not going to be the same situation.
Right.
Yermo is not going to have to make 45, 50 saves. He shouldn't have to do that anyways. You know what I mean? So I think for me, there's a lot to like. I think they're starting to gel. This weekend was great. I saw some really positive things, some encouraging things. I think, the 4-game winning streak, great, being up there close to the top of the Eastern Conference is exciting. They've scored a ton of goals. They've scored 52 goals so far this season, third most in the Ontario Hockey League through 14 games. And of course, their penalty kill's also been a strong point as well. But I do think defensively, tighten it up, be ready to play against those big games. Like, who do you think you're playing in the playoffs? I can promise you're not going to see Sudbury in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, you're going to see these teams. You're going to see a Windsor. You're going to see a Brantford. Barrie is going to come. You know they're going to come. They're going to get better. They're going to climb. Like, those are the teams that you have to be ready to play. And, an extension of that point would be when you play Erie, when you play Brampton, you got to take those wins. You take a look at this, the next couple of weeks, November is a nightmare. They play Kingston, Ottawa twice, Brantford, Barrie, and then Kitchener twice. That is an incredibly difficult month. So I think they need to be ready to play. They got a couple weeks to get ready here. But I think for me, what it comes down to is not scoring 6 goals against Brampton and not Kevin He scoring a hat trick, in a game that's, it's garbage time, basically, right? Like, you need to have these guys, you need to have this team getting it done when it really matters. And we're going to see that later in November. But I do think it's been a great stretch, through 14 games. They got the winning record. They're second in the Eastern Conference. You can't really complain too much. There's a lot to like about a team that's right now sitting at the top of the East. And I think if you keep getting the strong goaltending, you bring in some guys, like Reed in the bottom 6, you start to get, some strong defensive contributions. Ryan Robrick starts to, hit his, top speed. I think, we could be blazing away here and really challenge Brantford at the top. And then when you see those teams in the West, when you see Windsor, when you see Kitchener, Owen Sound has been great this year. When you see London, those are kind of games that you really have to find a way to win. So that's my outlook. My outlook is happy, but not satisfied. Still hungry. I want to see you take on Kitchener. I want to see you rip Brantford apart limb from limb. I want to see the killer instinct in a lineup stacked with potentially NHL players. I haven't seen that killer instinct, and I'm looking for more of it.
Yeah, I mean, the win against Kingston was nice because Kingston had been playing better as of late, and they've got a pro coach in Troy Mann, and they play a very pro style system. They don't really have a lot of stars, but they play to their system well, and the IceDogs won a low scoring game against the Kingston Frontenacs. So that's something you like to see, that they don't just win run and gun type of games. You like to see a low scoring game once in a while. It was 4-1 with the empty netter, 3-1 essentially, and they killed off a 5-minute major and then a penalty right after that. So They were doing all the right things where that game could have definitely gone in Kingston's favor. The IceDogs played it the right way and then put away a Brampton team that they should put away in the third period of that game on Sunday to now have won 4 straight. I think, other than Brantford, I think Niagara can really go, every single game in and game out and say that they are confident they can beat any of these teams in the Eastern Conference. And again, the teams like Brantford are the ones, and the Kitcheners and those teams that you talked about, they're going to be facing them again this month. So we'll really see where they stack up against some of these better teams. And they still are first in the Central Division, and the Central Division has been kind of sputtering. You look at North Bay is still trying to rebuild after going to 3 straight Eastern Conference finals, and they're doing a great job of that already in the second year of that. And then you've got the Brampton and Barrie and Sudbury. Barrie expected to be much better now that they get Emil Hemming back from an NHL organization. So I still don't think that you can count them out, whether they want to go in the sell road or the buy road. I think they're sort of in the middle where they can do both. But I think Barrie is one of those teams that people had expected to be at the top of the Central Division this season. So for Niagara to be sitting where they are right now as the current leader in the division, still a long way to go. But the first month and 2 games, I guess you can say, has definitely been encouraging to see for a new coaching staff, a new general manager, a lot of new players. It's just been the group has come together in a short period of time, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit of a musical chairs game the rest of the way. Like, there's no reserve seating here. Brantford's been at the top. That's pretty solid. They've been solidifying their spot there, but you take a look at the rest of the way. Ottawa starts the season on some unprecedented, winning streak. Kingston's been solid, like you said, North Bay. So, no complacency. And I think that's something that, Chris Barch hopefully is preaching and, in the room. But yeah, like you said, Brandon, lots of hockey left to be played. We are 14 games into the season. There's no guarantees. There's a lot of, potential ups and downs. There's going to be ebbs and flows, and, hopefully we can weather them. and, just kind of keep taking it a game at a time. It's one game at a time. And, keep putting together respectable efforts, and hopefully, we'll get there as we approach, December and, into January. We'll get a really good idea of what this team is really made of. But great start.
Let's get to IceDogs captain Kevin He for his first installment of Captain Kev's Flight Deck, brought to you by the Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural smiles in Niagara for over 25 years. Here's what the IceDogs captain had to say about him and his team's performance through the first month of the OHL season. Back another installment of Captain Kev's Flight Deck with IceDogs captain Kevin He. Kev, first full month of the season in the books. How pleased are you with the team's performance? Sitting first place in the Central Division. You're not satisfied, but what have you thought of the results this month?
Yeah, so far I like our game. We're sticking to system, and I think we're playing well right now. Like you said, we're not satisfied. We're still hungry. There's a lot more things to fix up and whatnot, but so far I'm pretty pleased.
How much easier has this transition been? This is the first full season view as the captain. You were named captain a little bit midway through the season last year. So how are you adjusting to that leadership role, wearing the C? And is there anything that maybe you learned from last year that you've tried to implement and become more of a leader off the ice as well here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, coming into my first, like you said, first full year, I've got to know the guys really well. I've been here for 4 years, ever since I got drafted. So a lot of guys I grew up with. So, it's been pretty easy and pretty smooth ride for me. I think, like you said, with the leadership and whatnot, I think just trying to show up every day and put my best foot forward.
What can maybe you give to some of these guys that are in their draft eligible year, the Roberts, the Wassilyns, and you've got 6 guys on the central scouting list, and you went through that process a couple years ago. So what do you maybe try to tell those guys about how to navigate through the season and the attention and the eyes that come on you and the interview requests and everything like that? Like how did you kind of show them how to handle all those sorts of things?
Yeah, so I think we're pretty blessed to have a lot of high-end top prospects here with Niagara. So I think for me, it's just trying to get them to block out the noise. I think that's like the big thing, and obviously it's a long season. You play 68 games, so I think just take a look at it one step at a time.
You're one of the longest tenured players on this team now, Kevin. There's been a lot of great rookies that have come after you now in your 4th year, and Ryerson Edgar is a guy that we talk about a lot, going away to the World U17s, and you asked to play with a guy like that. What have you seen from him already in the first month as he's grown into a quality 16-year-old in the league at almost basically a point a game?
Yeah, obviously, he's high in talent, high in skill and high in talent, and he can think the game. So I think he's learned to compete a lot more, and I like what I'm seeing from him right now, and hopefully he has a good U17s. I wish him all the best. I
know you don't like talking about yourself, but how do you like your game offensively? Since you've come back from Winnipeg, it seems like you've had another extra gear onto your game and basically riding a point a game yourself, so over a point a game. So how pleased are you with your individual play?
Yeah, I think there's still a lot more things I can work on and get better at, but so far I'm pretty happy. I think I really like my line mates right now, Ethan Zod and Ryerson Edgar. There's a few more things I want tweaking, try to get more shots on net and try to score a few more goals, but those things will come.
What's a guy you want to give a shout out to this month that you thought has really stepped it up and really elevated their game?
Honestly, I think Paris and Tiller have been really solid for us, especially on the DN with the penalty kill and whatnot. They've been blocking a lot of huge blocks for them. So, they've been, steady for us all season long.
Is there a moment or maybe just a couple of moments or just general interactions with, because you got so many new guys on this club. You have the same core, but a lot of new faces, a lot of those NCAA commits, some imports as well. So how is sort of that group camaraderie coming together, and how is that sort of playing as we see onto the ice with positive success?
Yeah, I think we're trying to do a lot of team bonding. The road trips are one thing, and to try to get the guys together. So I think it's been going great for us, and we're going to hope to continue that forward.
And for the imports, it sounds like from Chris Bartz, your head coach, that you guys have really made their transition seamless with Yermolenko and Riesnecker. Not an easy thing coming over from another continent to trying to adjust to North America and everything like that. How have you thought of Riesnecker and Yermolenko coming in as the imports?
Yeah, I have to give them a lot of praise. Obviously, like you said, it's not easy. A different country, different kind of game here. But honestly, I think both of them have adjusted really well. Riesnecker, he's been running a power play, it's been going really good, and he's a solid, two-way defenseman. Whereas obviously we've seen for Yermolenko, he's been, shut up, really solid for us on the back end there. He's made some huge saves for us, and night in, night out, he's who we can get from him.
A little bit lighthearted question, Kev. We got Halloween coming up on Friday. What is your favorite and your least favorite Halloween candy?
Candy, like Reese's. I like the Reese's a lot. Least favorite?
Something that you get in the bag and you just throw it away.
Probably like mint gum. Yeah, I've tried to get like better flavors than that, but I wouldn't throw it away. But yeah. I'd say those two.
And then last question for you. Your brother's been around sort of learning the OHL level. I know he hasn't been playing a lot of games, but just having him around and, just I know you guys maybe not live together, but you see each other on a regular basis. What's that sort of bond like with having your brother here?
Yeah, I played together way back in minor hockey in Montreal, so it's good to have him really close to me and kind of teach him the things of the game, and it's been good. I always spend so much time with him off the ice, so pretty happy this year, and hopefully one day I can play with him.
There was our first installment of Captain Kev's Flight Deck with IceDogs Captain Kevin Christian. Kev's a very reserved type of guy. We got him to open up a little bit. We found out that he's a big Reese's guy. Not a big fan of mints though, when it came to the Halloween candy, but his brother Eric's around, still trying to work his way into an OHL player. He talked about the camaraderie with some of the guys and trying to build into more of a leader now that he's got that C now for a first full season. What were your takeaways from what number 11 had to say?
Yeah, don't give him gum on Halloween. That's my takeaway. Don't change the taste in his mouth, please, because whatever he's got a taste of right now, it's working. He's been incredible. 1.5 points per game so far, 18 points in 12 games. He's climbing the leaderboards, 96th career goal scored just recently. He's tied with Akil Thomas now for 4th. On ice play has been spectacular. And then off the ice, you hear, some of his growth points, some of the things that he's looking to improve upon, some of the things that he likes to see, from his team. And, what I really take away is the maturity from Kevin. Those responses, the way he's, conducting himself, the way he's going to be there for some of those younger guys. I think he's a fantastic captain. He's going to continue, steering the ship here alongside Chris Barch. And what a line mate for Ryerson Edgar. I mean, and a guy that, who's, trying to break into the OHL and have, hopefully a strong rookie season. Couldn't have asked for a better partner in crime up there on the top unit. But, absolutely a fantastic chat. Nice to get to know his favorite candy. So I'm a Reese's guy as well. So I guess Kevin and I have that in common. Not exactly as good of a hockey player, but we got one similarity. I love to hear the maturity in his voice, and he's looking to win. He's hungry, and he's showing that with his play. On the ice, he's had a great start.
He shouted out Patterson and Tiller as well.
Yes, he did. Both for their defensive play as well, which is not exactly the shout out you would expect, but they both have been solid. And to my point earlier in the podcast, those are the kind of guys you need. You need some, mature players in the locker room to do the things that some of the other guys just don't want to do. Blocking shots is one of the most difficult things you could do on the ice. And these are guys that are willing to sacrifice their body. Kevin, illuminated on, that point a little bit, talking about how these guys they take a beating in front of the net. And I think, he does a great job of acknowledging his teammates and really being there for his teammates in the moment when they achieve things. And then, being there for them when, they might need to tighten up. He's there to, encourage, but also to criticize when required. And, I think he's, just textbook captain material.
He's now tied Akil Thomas, as you mentioned, for 4th all-time in goals for the Niagara IceDogs organization, 4 off of Ryan Strome at 100. And then he's got quite a ways to go there, but could possibly get up to 2nd before the end of the year, which would be really exciting.
He's going to score 79 goals this year. Don't worry. We're going to pass him. He's going to catch Agazino.
He needs to play, I think, another full season like Agazino did in order to reach that. But it's still incredible for Kevin now in his 4th season with the IceDogs. Can't believe that. But, to now tied with Akil Thomas, another franchise legend, that's something to be, I guess, excited about and sort of reflecting on how far he's come already, and a guy than Akil Thomas who he had skated with in previous summers. So I guess it comes full circle for him there with another great IceDogs captain. But Christian, let's move forward here with the fan polls here and getting your guys' thoughts on some of the things going on with the team right now. Again, make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast, where we post polls for our big shows like this. So we're going to start off here. I don't remember what order it was, Christian, so bear with me. I'm just going off of what I wrote. So we're going to start with the defenseman poll here, and we're going to get just our quick thoughts on it. But again, this is a fan segment here. But which IceDogs full-time defenseman is the best current fit to quarterback the power play? Artem Frolov, Ben Riesnecker, Grayson Tiller, and Sebastian Del Elche. again, I said full-time because Blake Barnes doesn't play every single game here for the IceDogs. So
Correct.
he has been running sort of the power play when he does play. But Ben Riesnecker, for you guys listening on the video form, won this with 44%. Artem Frolov, or excuse me, Grayson Tiller second at 32%. Artem Frolov at 20%. Christian, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm surprised that Artem Frolov isn't at least second on that list. I have loved what I've seen from Ben Riesnecker, though. I think for his size, his patience, his poise at the blue line, he's like a ballerina out there, and he's 6'4". You know, he moves incredibly well for a guy his size. So not surprised to see him in the number 1 spot. I probably would have bumped Artem Frolov up to number 2, but Grayson Tiller's also a great second there. And we've heard lots of people inside the IceDogs organization talk about Ben Riesnecker, and he's climbing up draft boards for sure. I think he's going to prove himself to be that two-way 100, 200 feet player. He's gonna have some offensive bite to him as well. So I'm excited to see what he can accomplish on the power play. And for Sebastian Delelche, a guy that comes in at the bottom of this, I think he's got a lot of potential. A guy who scored a ton of points with St. Andrews College last season. He's got a lot of offensive upside, and I think in the years to come, he could very well become one of those guys that they rely on the power play unit. So 4 guys with tons of offensive upside, but Ben Riesnecker takes the crown.
Delelche has that NCAA eligibility as well. We'll see where he kind of goes from things. But yeah, Ben Riesnecker, a defensive defenseman, but has shown that he can be a sufficient guy that can move the puck from that offensive zone as well. So this is where I'm going to insert the ticket giveaway code word. So it's going to be stick tape. So you got to make sure that you DM us on either Twitter, Instagram, wherever, Facebook, wherever you listen to it. You better make sure you DM us that it was stick tape, and you will be put into a draw for that, and we will pick a winner for you guys to get some premium IceDog tickets for a select game this month.
It said stick tape, baby. I'm pretty sure that's 2 words, by the way. Did you say you said 1 word?
I don't care. Stick tape.
So how do they spell it? They got to spell 2 words, stick dash tape, or stick with
as long as they get it close to it. 1 word, 2 words, a dash, whatever they want. Stick
you
tape.
Pick, guys. Stick tape, and we'll see it at the Meridian Center. I love it.
And that'll be brought to you by Butt Ends as well. So anyways, moving on here to our next poll, and that one will be the goaltending poll, which is now between Vladislav Yermolenko and Charlie Robertson. What is the best game plan going forward for the IceDogs in net? Robertson as a starter, Yermolenko as a starter, set split start rotation, or just ride the hot glove. Yermolenko as a starter won 32.3%. Second was set a split start rotation at 29. Robertson 22.6 as the starter. Christian, what are your thoughts there as I pull up the goaltending statistics for both of them?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. It's kind of like a buffet. You don't really know what you want, but you kind of want everything. These guys bring totally different skill sets. Yermolenko brings a butterfly dynamic. He moves post to post really well. He just doesn't have the size. Charlie Robertson, a little bit bigger, a little bit more mature, has a whole heck of a lot more experience in this league as well. So I think they both bring some value. But as we take a look here on your screen, if you're watching on YouTube, from the goalie statistics perspective view, Vladislav Yermolenko has edged out Charlie Robertson by a hair. Played a little bit more. He's played 8 games so far on 262 shots, made 240 saves, conceding just 22 goals in that stretch, which would be 2 more than Charlie Robertson, but he's faced a lot less shots. The goals against average is stronger for Yermolenko, so is the save percentage, and the record as well at 5-1. So I've loved what I've seen from the Belarusian import. He's been fantastic to start the season. We've talked a lot about his puck play. And it's definitely a positive for sure, but it gives me a heart attack. But he's got a ton of value. He's making saves. He's playing well, and really shooting up people's draft boards, as Frank alluded to. And for Charlie Robertson, what a season. A breakout season for him. You take a look at last year, started just 10 games. This year, he's played 7 already. Highest or lowest goals against average, highest save percentage he's had in his career so far, 4-2-0-0. And for him, we heard a little bit from Frank about it. A guy that, is coming off such a difficult injury to come back and play the way that he has this year. It's truly inspiring. And, he deserves his flowers. He deserves every start he's going to get this season. So for me, it's a buffet. I don't know where to go. I could say they split the crease, ride the hot hand. I don't think it's really going to matter. Whoever you put in there is a fantastic goaltender that's going to give you a chance to win every single night.
Yeah, I like both of them right now, and I think you just ride with whoever's playing the best right now. And if it's a back-to-back, you go with both of them, or a 3-3. You got to get both of them playing time. You got to get them both in the lineup. So I don't think this is an Owen Flores starting 16 straight games for the IceDogs type of scenario that we saw last year.
This is, totally different look.
Yermolenko and Robertson have both shown that they're both capable, and it's really, as you mentioned, sort of a nice plethora of good goaltending to have. And then you've got Matt Humphreys marinating down there in the OJHL, hopefully, when he does come back up here to the Niagara IceDogs. So moving on to our third fan poll here, and let's go with what were the other ones, Christian?
You had there's one about your favorite player, NHL drafted player.
There it is.
Ethan Zada, Kevin He, and Riley Patterson, who has performed the best. And there he is, Mr. Zada, 42.9%. If you're watching on our YouTube, he takes the crown. Kevin He, number 2, 38.1. It was close, man. Riley Patterson down at 19%. He gets the shaft in this poll, but I think all of them have been fantastic. All of them on career paces from a points perspective. Ethan Zada, for me, takes it, though. He's my pick of the month. We do the dog treats. This guy gets a birthday cake. He has been incredible so far this season. He's got 12 points in 11 games. Some of the advanced analytics for me is where he really shines. He's got 9 goals on a 39% shooting percentage. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but I wanted to reiterate that it's out of this world. He's just scoring every time he shoots the puck. Tied for the lead in plus minus as well at 9 with Riley Patterson. 0.818 goals per game, which is the 4th in the league. He's standing up for his young guns. He's fighting. He's winning faceoffs. He's playing that defensive game. Everything about this guy right now is just coming together. I love it. Tampa Bay loves it. They're sending private jets to the Niagara Regional Airport, man. I'm telling you, he's had a fantastic start to this season. I think he 100% deserves to be at the top of that list. Kevin He and Riley Patterson, I'm not going to take anything away from their performance, but he's showing why he was a second-round draft pick. They didn't pick him that high just because he can put the puck in the net. They picked him that high because he can do all these other things. And we talked about it earlier. We mentioned it. He's an onion. He's one of the most valuable players on this team because he's a center and because he can contribute in so many different ways. And it's really coming to fruition. I see him as an incredibly valuable member of this team so far. But yeah, Kevin He, he's shattering records or on his way to. Of course, he breaks the Akil Thomas standing at number 4, tied there. And then for Riley Patterson, he's been great as well, like we mentioned earlier on that point streak, and on pace to score the most points so far in his OHL career. So I think all of them playing fantastic. Notable mention to Ryan Robrick as well on the offensive side of things. We haven't talked about him at all yet on this show. I want to make sure that we do because he's also starting to come alive. He's had 7 points in his past 4 games, 4 goals in 4 games. He's starting to look like the Ryan Robrick that we miss. 5 power play goals as well, leading the league in that department. So he's coming alive, but lots left to go there, and that's the exciting part. So the top 6 looks dangerous, but Ethan Zada for sure, he gets the roses for me, man.
Yeah, for those 3 guys that came back from NHL camps with an extra gear this year, you could definitely see why those 3 guys have NHL teams with affiliation to their name and all signed, not just drafted. All 3 of them signed.
That's right.
NHL entry-level contract, which is a big thing. And now they're going to have Noah Reed as well with the Anaheim Ducks affiliation, and we'll see if he's able to earn that entry-level contract signing after being drafted by the Ducks. But we'll move into our last poll here, and it is the IceDogs playoff poll. And again, Braidy Wassilyn trade happens, and I don't know if this changes things for anybody, but regardless of that, where do the IceDogs stack up within the OHL after an encouraging start to the season? Top league contender, potent division winner, middle playoff team, or fringe playoff team? Potent division winner won this at 69.6%. Second was middle playoff team at 21.7%, and top league contender 8.7%. 0 people said a fringe playoff team, so very good for the IceDogs making their first playoff appearance last season after 5-year absence from the playoffs. So the fact that they're near the top of this is encouraging, and it seems like the fan base really is encouraged as well.
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate it again. I said it in the last show, and somebody commented. I saw it. They said, that's a bold take. I'm so bold. I'm going to say it again. They will be at the top of the Eastern Conference. I see them being more than a potent division winner. I think they take that no problem. 69.6% of you guys agree, but I'm challenging for that other 8.7. I want us there. I want us as a top league contender. I see us being there. I think, Kitcher, Windsor, Brantford, Niagara, right there in the conversation. I think they're there. I think they've deserved to be, they've earned to be in that conversation. They got the personnel to go and do it. I think the next time we do this poll, we're going to see some numbers flipped, hopefully in the reverse fashion. We'll have some potent division winners maybe at 20% and top league contender, hopefully the other way. But I can't argue. I think Central Division this season should be well in hand for the Niagara IceDogs. They continue to play the way they have. I got no issues with that being the result.
For sure. So that's it for our monthly recap for the IceDogs, and we'll see where they are, where it shapes out at the end of November. Again, they're going to be without Ryerson Edgar for a little bit. They're going to be without Ryan Robrick for a little bit here when he's away for the CHL USA Prospect Challenge. We're going to see how Noah Reed fits into the lineup. Again, wishing Braidy Wassilyn all the best in London, but now have to move forward here with the information that we know about why this trade happened and all the things like that. Hopefully have a little bit more clarity on that sort of thing on the next time we record this, and we're able to talk to Frank Evola, the general manager, after the trade happened, because again, as I mentioned, we talked to him before sort of everything went down. So look forward to chatting again at the end of November for this, Christian. But again, a very encouraging start for Niagara, and you just hope that they can continue to do all the right things and continue to buy into what Chris Barch is trying to preach.
That's it. It's the stairway to the Memorial Cup, and we're taking it one step at a time. There's no rush. It's October. Lots of hockey left to be played, and this is just another step in the right direction. You bring in a guy like that, he's going to contribute. I'm excited to see what he's got. We'll be back at it Friday. Post-game show coming up too. We'll be there for the Halloween game, I believe, Brandon?
Yep.
Correct? Yes. So we'll hopefully have a little bit more on him. We'll hopefully see him in action on Friday, and we can, develop a further understanding. But my final words, fantastic start to the season for the IceDogs.
That's going to wrap it up for our Niagara IceDogs monthly recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in our 3 great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody that watched us today on the video version on YouTube. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and do all that fun stuff to make sure that you get in on the next time we record a video podcast here on the network. And to those listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform, thank you for that, Christian. Thank you to those that are listening and didn't see Christian waving his towel around. But regardless of that, again, make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. So for Christian Simmons, my name is Brandon Caputo. That's it for our monthly recap here on the Dog Pound Podcast, and we'll talk to you again very soon. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.